the East India Company. And so the doctrine of discovery there overrode local systems and laws and rights. And they were made with people who didn't have the power, which is the real people. And even Singapore, with the traditional name of Temasek and Singapura, was founded in 1819, but it was only through arrangement with a minor sultan. But it was already part of a huge empire, which is the Srivijaya Majapahit Empire, with very sophisticated architectural sciences in place already. So also the Anglo-Dutch Treaty of 1824, and where Britain and Netherlands divided Southeast Asia amongst them with no consultation of the Malay rulers. The Johor Sultanate sovereignty over these regions were totally ignored. Likewise with Sabah, the British North Borneo Company, and also the French formed a triangle of Indochina, right? And Thailand was the only one that remained free from colonization due to some creative diplomacy. Now, East Asia, China too, during the Qing period, and Tokugawa, Japan, and Korea limited European penetration. But the doctrine underpinned later imperialist pressures, such as the First and Second Opium Wars. Now, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Macau became crown colonies, which led the formation of the Commonwealth countries also around the world. Again, trade is resource extraction of all the resources of the land, like tin, rubber, palm oil, spices, were the primary motive in Asia, but it was suffused with violent conquest and economic coercion and domination. So present-time Asia is the fusion of European influence made acceptable by Asian grace and wisdom, as you wanted me to highlight. But so we wanted to also say that in seeking amendments, atonement, and solutions, we have become more aware of the historical context of patterns of trade, commerce in Asia, and how Asia is shaped by forces yet to be revealed and remedied in our ancient future. And we bring forth the wisdom and the composure and the centeredness, hopefully, of Asian people with the grace to intertwine the influences from a more historical and compassionate context to reclaim our sovereignty.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed, Commissioner Amalia Wai-Ching. I'm very grateful. Is Commissioner Kairataki Bryce Aldridge back in the studio? I know we're having difficulties keeping him in the studio. Is he with us? Christy, speak to me, please.
You see him. Looks like he dropped off.
It looks like, and I know Advocate Sabella fell off as well. In any event, okay, well, when Bryce comes back in, kindly, I can't be in the back of the studio and at the front. I can only do one. So kindly bring him forward. Oh, here we go, at the stage. I think he's just coming in now again. Just give me 1 second. No, he's obviously having difficulties. He's just dropped out again. In any event, let me bring on His Majesty again. Is he here? Yes, he is. Your Majesty, forgive me. I'd like to bring you back on to discuss the Hawaiian piece as it relates to this brief that each of the commissioners are giving. Just in 2 or 3 minutes, let me bring you back in. And you'll need to unmute there. I think I've done that for you. Nope, you'll need to do it your end.
Aloha, and thank you again. Before I move forward with what Sacha has asked, I'd like to first say that listening to all of you speak, you speak so eloquently and so well about the doctrine of discovery and the effect it had on millions of people. And its effect still permeates even to this very day. And there's no doubt in my mind that all of you are well learned and well prepared to discuss and even debate the doctrine of discovery. For the Hawaiian people, we believe that there's no other course of action than to move forward as a sovereign entity, as a sovereign person, as a sovereign nation. And a person here earlier said self-determination. What does that really mean? Self-determination. That's a very broad statement. And we can spend hours discussing what self-determination really is. But for the Hawaiian culture, for the Hawaiian people, self-determination first is being one with self, allowing the spirit of aloha to permeate our entire being, that when we walk in aloha, we walk side by side with God. That's who we are as a people. And oftentimes people will use the word aloha as just a throwaway word that says goodbye, hello, etc. Aloha has a far deeper meaning than that. It means God sees me and I see God. When I say that, that means that I see you and you see me. We make no judgments of past. Whatever our past was, there is no judgment. What matters is what is today. And that brings to this thought, and I will leave you folks with this, is that in the spirit of peace and reconciliation, the first thing we have to do is forgive the past. It is not an act of forgetting or condoning past wrongs. Instead, it is a conscious decision to release the burden of resentment and anger that weighs heavily on our hearts. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the chains of the past and open the door to fulfill to a future filled with hope and possibilities. As I listened to the Reverend Wayne from, it's just talking about the Philippines and how it became its name from Philippian, etc. All of it is true. We know the past. How do we move forward? The Doctrine of Discovery, we know in the 14th, 15th century, we know that the popes, the pontiffs, did all these terrible things. We know that they gave a mandate telling everybody, telling the Europeans, Spain and Portugal, all of them, go out there, do what you want to do. And the crimes and the things that they did was horrific. To repeat these things only manifests the negative that was back then. And I know it very, very well. I know the Doctrine of Discovery like I know both my hands. And I can cite it very well. But what I choose to do today, as a member here in this World Hereditary Council, is to move past that. And we talk about the Roman Catholic Church. Well, it has many complexities. Its history is so complex with indigenous people, us. While acknowledging the pain and suffering that has been endured, we must also recognize the potential for growth and change. By extending forgiveness, I want to invite the churches. I want to invite Spain and Portugal and England and Netherlands to come to Hawaii. Or I will meet them anywhere in the world and to talk to me, to talk to us. That's what I'm doing. I'm inviting them to come talk to me. I'm inviting the Pope. Pope Francis gave an apology, as you all know. What does that mean? Well, I apologize for what we did. When an apology is given half-heartedly, it's not an apology. When you offend your wife, for an example, men, and you say, wife, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. But the tone of your voice is not sincere. Your wife will know that you're just lying. You're just trying to appease her. Your wife will know that, and vice versa. But if you come with a sincere heart, and that's what I want to see, and the Pope did not do that. And then I want the leaders. I am a leader. And I want the leaders of King Charles. I want him there. I want the Prime Minister of England. I want the King of Spain, King Carlos. I want them to meet with me, have an open forum, and say, and tell us why they did what they did, why they took arms and killed and maim, hurt, rape, and do all these terrible things. Why they did that? Do we deserve that? The answer is yes. That's what part of healing and part of forgiving and part of moving forward. As I mentioned earlier in my dissertation, I said the kingdom is moving forward. And by that, I have created the first ever Indigenous International World Court. In my court, we also have the master for creating a bar association to properly bar each lawyer, each person become a legal attorney to go into the world and to solve and to work with problems that we need to work with. Also comes with that is our Peace Center. And when I say Peace Center, it's an easier word than using my Hawaiian words, hui malohia, hui, which is my sacred language. And these things bring forth all the people. And just for Reverend Dr. Wang Ching, I'm Hawaiian Chinese. My grandfather was from Hunan, I'm sorry. And he was, my great grandfather was a master in Qigong and Kung Fu. And my father taught me Kung Fu for many years. And my grandmother tried to teach me Chinese, Mandarin. And I think I was more of an ocean boy, and rather than want to learn Chinese, I want to go surfing. But I am honored to have met you today, and I see Marcia there. I don't know if you folks know Marcia, but she's a gem of a woman. Her knowledge of law is better than most attorneys I've met, and I am a lawyer. But her experience of law, although she's not an attorney by any stretch of it, she should be. And she is quite versed in, and Sacha chose well. Sacha, I thank you for allowing me this space and time to be with you. I want you to know that you're an awesome person and I love you deeply. You're a good man with a good heart. And when you, what you have done today will continue to move forward because it begins here. And although we know the history of doctrine discovery and all that is done, and all the hurts and pains and suffering done to our indigenous people, we still have a sovereign right to stand up, to unite, and to move forward. We cannot allow the past to hold us back. We cannot do that. And I believe even the judges there will also admit this as well. Thank you again, and God bless you. You're on mute.
You're muted.
Indeed, King Edmund Paki Silva Jr. of the Sovereign Kingdom of Hawaii, thank you very much indeed for your sagacious words. And you mentioned, of course, the grace note in my own symphony within the New Earth ecosystem, and that is indeed Marcia Willitson, who is the core trustee of the New Earth Nation Coalition, which is the oversight body behind the World Hereditary Council and the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. And I would like to invite Marcia forward to say, give us a couple of minutes of her indelible wisdom. Marcia, welcome. You'll need to unmute as well.
Thank you so very much. These words inspire great humility and courage on all of our parts. What I see, the value, what's the value of having all this information? What's the value of bringing this information forward? That we're in a time of revelation. And we know in any healing process, we have to be truthful. We have to tell the truth about what's the core source of any dis-ease that we're experiencing. How do we bring this revelation forward? That's what this commission is about. How do we bring our hearts open enough, with enough courage to stand in the face of the ramifications of a doctrine that has been a burr under our saddle for all of our lives, a source of bitterness and grief, the source of anger, the source of separation, the source of all of our family, our relatives, spreading around the world as if we're separate from one another. And how to get to that where we really have the ability to stand in the face of the revelation of the doctrine of discovery and its manifestations onto the world, and bring through that our own repentance, our own harmony within ourselves, and come forward in such a way that the restoration of our heart's desire in our whole global culture can come to fruition, that we can bring the repentance in ourselves and into the planet, so that the redemption, the remediation, the cultural beauty that we really are as a human species, as a divine species, can come forward and manifest itself into life. And I thank everybody for coming here, people who bring their testimonies, people who are listening. Every one of us is the source of the remedy. Thank you so much for being here.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Marsha. We've got Commissioner Kayarataki Bryce Aldridge back in the studio by the grace of the living God. So we'd like to hear from him. Again, the ancient cultures of Aotearoa are first to see the light anywhere in the world. That, to you or I, friends, is New Zealand. But also it has special standing. I tell you what, let him speak to it. And the He Wakaputanga and the recognition of unextinguished indigenous sovereignty vis-a-vis the Doctrine of Discovery is essentially the piece that we're inviting Commissioner Bryce Aldridge to speak to. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sacha, and thank you, everybody. I'd like to begin being an observer and listening through the progress of this event here by announcing my participation within here, the ITNJ, firstly, is a willing participant, and it's also very much consented. And the reason why my willingness and consent to be part of the ITNJ and this process is because of the people that I've sat with over the weeks and hours of a recent past, and those people being very honest people and being very committed people and loyal people. And most importantly, we've managed to find a very sincere way of keeping one another accountable, and that's very rare in the world at the moment. I just wanted to thank you all. I have scripted my delivery today as time goes by. I feel compelled as a youth in freestyling. I found very quickly that at a point in time that I was the only one that understood really what I was saying. So I offer this to our gathering here today. What happens to a society when it is forced to change? To change, to abandon the natural law system studied and mastered over millennia.
Okay. Alas, alack, we've lost the commissioner again, not for the first time today. In any event, as I said, we factor these glitches into a live broadcast like this, especially when you're bringing in people from dozens of countries around the world. I think that in the absence of Commissioner Aldridge being able to return, we've heard from our various attending commissioners at the ceremonial seating. And next up, I'd like to bring His Grace Bishop Ria back in just momentarily. I know it must be getting very late there in Nazareth or in Jerusalem, Your Grace. Before we do wind down this ceremonial seating, do you have any closing statements or comments, thoughts, considerations?
Well, let me begin by thanking you for raising such a delicate question vis-a-vis the rights of the native Indians in different parts of the world. I personally stand on their side, and I call upon all who are able to raise the issue again and again until the wrong that was done 500 years ago be corrected. The philosophy of what is yours is mine will never pave the way for peace in the world. It will never bring quiet and harmony. We need to stand for what is yours as a rule among individuals, among nations, among different groups here and there. I do appreciate that the situation in what we are discussing now has to do with the Vatican, with the papal bull of 1492. The problem where we are in the Holy Land, in the land of the Holy One, does not have to do with the Pope or with the Vatican. It has to do with Almighty God. For some people to continue to claim that God gave them the land will make it quite impossible for humans to deal with such an issue. I, as far as what we're discussing now, continue to stand on the side of the native Indians in their struggle to claim back what was theirs, ever knowing that as long as we continue to join hands to do that which is right, to struggle against further expropriation and confiscation of land in different parts of the world, the international community will ultimately wake up. And if they do, they will come to our support in our struggle for the native Indians in the United States, in Latin America, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Hawaii, in different parts. We need to continue to be instruments of peace. Raise those delicate questions and believe that ultimately peace will overcome and justice will overcome. Thank you for including me in this project, this program. I pray, thank all who are part in this, and pray that ultimately some of us, if not all of us, we hope all of us will witness the day when justice will be done and the native Indians will claim back what was theirs to be theirs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Grace. Your words are very greatly appreciated. And get to bed right now. It's way past your bedtime. Thank you for joining us today. We're so appreciative. I know that Honorable Justice Ben Zvinia has to also move on. I'd like to invite him in for his closing comments here. Unmute your microphone, Justice.
Thank you, Sacha, and thank you all. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be involved. And it's a work that needs to be done. It's a long time. And I'm just grateful for everybody. And I look forward to this commission and program going on.
Thank you, Justice. Okie dokie. I would like to invite Justice Cleverly in for his last words and considerations in light of what we've heard and what we've learned today.
Thank you, Sacha. And I can only reiterate what has been said. It was very good to see my good friend, His Grace there. But also, I'm heartened by the words of Sabello, my fellow brother. Ubuntu, it means I am because we are. And we must look to the ancient wisdom that existed before all of this happened. And as His Majesty said as well, we should look to that wisdom, because in that wisdom there is what we're looking for here, which is natural justice. And justice, as I always say, it just is. And I think that's where we must begin. And we now need to actually look to our self-sovereignty as well as the sovereignty of the nations that we're talking about, whether they be the colonizers or the colonized, and look to a way in which we can find a new way of doing this, because it clearly didn't work. So I think that's part of the commission, is the doctrine of recovery, not just how we got there, but where we're going to go to. But as Marsha said as well, we need to understand where we started, so we never go back there again.
Beautifully stated. Thank you, Chris, very much indeed. All right, friends. I think that is more or less it. Christy, do jump in and hit me with a stick if I've omitted something here, which would not be unusual. But I do wish to thank profusely the commissioners and notables who've joined us today. And I will say, friends, not for the first time, this is an epochal moment when humans from around the world can begin to reconvene the entire conceptual framework of our informed reality, and indeed our informed wisdom, most of which is utterly incoherent, distorted, corrupted by invisible masters, by secret societies, by privately owned corporations masquerading as governments, by Sabbatean priesthoods lurking within the citadel, lurking within the basement of the monotheistic religious institutions and the political institutions of the world, most of which are, I will state clearly here, inhabited by good people trapped in rotten systems. The question is, how did we get here? How did we allow for this stealth interventionism of systemic corruption and distortion into our civilizational wheel? Well, each of us have been variously asleep at the wheel, and that is the painful truth. Our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors were all variously seduced, subjugated, subverted from their immanent pedestals as divinely anointed and divinely appointed children of God, each of us, in the geometry, the living perfection of the living moment, where each of us in our highest order of magnitude and in our highest calling are required simply to bear witness to God's majesty and God's grace. This abundant earth that we inhabit, each of us. We're not required to move into this world and to enter into competition with one another. We were never intended in God's grace to vie for supremacy or dominion one over another. That is the systemic corruption that I'm speaking to, the trial of separation, which ultimately is the corrupted source code that we're each of us here seeking to remedy. We are within the embrace of this World Hereditary Council and its Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the Doctrine of Discovery contained by the ITNJ, is all about rekindling fellowship. It is not about the punitive aspect of human nature and how we can punish the oppressor, how we need to move against the old order, how we need to hang them in the market square. All of that variously is happening in any event. But really what this is about here is convening the highest currency in the entire universe, which is fellowship, And in this world, and in this time, and at this closing of the cycle of the fallen light of Atlantis, the old age from which we're departing, as we now stand naked on the cliff's edge of an abyss of unknowing, of cataclysm, and of end of days, Armageddon, apocalyptic notions abounding. That is the predictive programming that has been put into the field. You and I, any one of us gathered here today, and I'm not just talking about this blessed commission, I'm talking about the thousands of you watching right now. If you were and are attuned to the work that we're doing here, to this broadcast, and to the subject in hand, which is to create a closing of a great cycle of trauma, ancestral trauma, then you will know that fellowship is indeed the highest currency in the world. And that this plane of existence upon which each of us find ourselves, this theater, this holograph that we find ourselves dancing upon the checkerboard of the kingdom of the devil, we have a choice, friends. And the choice is to withdraw our attention from that checkerboard and to simply move into this new earth horizon in full knowing that we are fully appointed, fully anointed sons and daughters of God, the one living God. And you and I are the witness. And as we bear witness in pure truth and right action and move into convention with that Spiritus Maximus, the Alpha and the Omega, we become the living testament, and we are the ones who then define the future, a future, friends, far, far beyond war and disease and poverty. I'd like to bring everyone back in, and I'm not going to do what was originally planned, which was to do a call to action. We will do that in any event. This is really more about striking the chord. Again, this is the grace note. It is the love that we share one for another. And I'd like to thank each of the commissioners and the justices and His Grace, Bishop Ria from Jerusalem, for coming in today and joining us in this ceremonial seating of the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. And friends, I have to say this, more than any of that, thank you to each of you out there leaning in with full, unfettered attention to the great work that we're doing. I will ask of you this, and this is my call to action. You must share the word. When you see these voices and these faces of these blessed hereditary leaders and indigenous wisdom keepers and elders that we have spent years setting up and galvanizing to bring forth, those faces and voices must be seen and must be heard. And understand this, you, the audience watching this, are entirely responsible now. We pass the stick to you. This is your call to action. This is your duty of care. You are looking here at a judicial bench of volunteers. There is no coin exchanged here. These justices, these commissioners, these noble people, friends, colleagues of the World Hereditary Council, the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, and I'll include myself in that. We work tirelessly 8 days a week in this noble venture. We do not have the subsidies of the United Nations, of these corrupted multilateral institutions financed by agenda makers and king makers. I seek to usurp the corrupted crowns and the corrupted thrones, the ones which indeed were usurped, and replace them in turn with the hereditary leaders, the wisdom keepers of the First Nation peoples, the Aboriginal lands of the world. And again, this is beyond color. It is not black, white, red, yellow, or brown. It is about homo sapien becoming homo sapien luminous. And that is you and I, friends. That is this day, the 23rd of September. And I will sign off this broadcast there. Commissioners, friends in the studio, just by all means, thank you indeed. Let's say goodbye to the audience and leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Nisale kahle.
Thank you. You can all open your microphones. Thank you, friends.
Aho, water. Thank you. Magwe.
Bye now.
Yabonga.
Singing a
Discovering peace of mind.
Greetings, friends, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, 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 one and all, to this ceremonial seating, virtual seating of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the Doctrine of Discovery. And this